Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Ref the District's Day After Reckoning. I'm Nathan Perry. That's Trev, and that's the Stoner. And we're going to have Parker Hamilton from Sidelines coming on.
Or Hamlet.
Hamlet.
Yeah, just correcting you there.
That's wow, right. Man.
My bad. Already starting off wrong. Things are a little different. We are going to talk the Baltimore game. Obviously, we want to address the Brian Robinson situation here first. So for that, let me go ahead and bring in our guest for today, and then let's get this show on the road here. Welcome, Parker, to Ref the District. Thank you for joining us,
Parker.
Sir.
Feels good to be here. Not Hamlet, but like I said, we're all a little bit shell-shocked right now, obviously, with the news we just got, guys. I mean, it seems like it never ends with this franchise. And, you know, as we go on right now, it's just in a Twitter space with Shelly and everybody. We're still learning the details. We're coming fresh off the preseason finale, so a lot to discuss, and obviously I'm glad to join all you guys. Stoner, Trev, Nathan, huge fan of the the show. Oh, rocking the cap now. All right, let's
Are you Stoner?
Yeah, Stoner's flexing all this stuff. So the DC Police Department tweets out that shooting investigation on the 1000 block of H Street Northeast. Look out for two black juvenile males with shoulder-length dreads, medium complexion, wearing a black or brown shirt with yellow smiley faces on it. Mm-hmm. This is in conjunction with the news from earlier that Brian Robinson was shot. We have a tweet from Tom Pelissero. My understanding is at least 2 bullets struck Commanders running back Brian Robinson in the lower body, as Mike Garofalo said. Robinson is hospitalized in stable condition, a terrible situation that could have been even worse. So glad to hear Brian Robinson's in stable condition, but my goodness, you just have to wish the best for him. Stoner, you were saying like this is Stoner can't decide if he's going to wear a hat or not wear a hat. The Stoner, you're saying you're very familiar with this area of where it happened.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with it. It's right down the road from Union Station. I commute into Union Station every day, pre-pandemic. Haven't since then, of course, but it's right down that H Street. And if you just keep going east, I did this one time. Remember when the chicken sandwich whole thing was exploding and everyone, especially Popeyes, especially right. So. So I decided to do the chicken sandwich challenge for lunch.
I remember that.
So I did, I did Popeyes, I did Wendy's, I did Chick-fil-A, right? And then I brought it back to Union Station. The whole point of the story is right there at H and 10th, which is where I believe this happened. That's the Popeyes that I went to.
11th.
Or 10th or 11th is right there.
Whatever.
There's Ben's Chili Bowl, famous Ben's Chili Bowl. Everybody knows Ben's Chili Bowl in DC. It's right there. And the Chick-fil-A is right down the road. It's a very good part of town. It's not, any sort of shady part of town. So yeah, I'm familiar with it. And it's a, effing shame that this happened, to Brian Robinson, to anybody. Of course, it happens all the time. But, obviously when it affects you personally, then you have more to say about it.
Yeah, of course, Washington fans have some familiarity, and I'm sure a lot of us were dreading the worst here as Sean Taylor, kind of a similar situation there. Trev, what was going through your mind as you were the first one of, I think, the three of us to see it. What was going through your mind when you saw the news?
Complete shock. Just shock. Like, is this real? I mean, it's just like, what? I was ready to come on here and talk about him possibly taking, football talk about him taking the spot at RB1 and stuff and this and that. Yeah. And now it's just like, it's beyond that. It's just, like you said, Stoner, it's not just a football player. He's a human being too. But when it hits you personally, because we're a fan of this, it's just, I don't even know what to say. It's just like the Sean Taylor thing comparison is real. I was pretty young when that happened. So it's a vivid memory, but not like this has become. So it's just nuts. They got the Dwayne Haskins happening a few months ago, former Washington quarterback. So it's like, and I hate to say like our franchise is cursed because you don't want to like put it like that, but like it is. I mean, it is. I mean, it's just what it is. Either it's an injury or worse than that. I tried, it's just sad. So,
Parker, you got any final thoughts on that?
Initially, I really had no words. I was just going down the road. Notification popped up. Got like 3 or 4 text messages. Found out about it around the same time you guys did. Some of the more details I'd seen on it was that it was a double shooting. He had a young woman was with him. Apparently, she was grazed in the head. They said, obviously, I don't know exactly where on the head it was. That's when some of these details really aren't being disclosed. Stoner did a really good job of disclosing the location and kind of describing where it's at. Very rough part that a lot of people have described. Someone in the space I was just in said that, he'd done security in that area. He said people getting shot and knives pulled on them pretty consistently there. And, it's just really rough to hear this happen because a lot like Trev, I was very excited to come on and talk about how this guy, 23-year-old Brian Robinson Jr., rookie, this was his backfield. I mean, that's what we were going to talk about, that he was RB1. I mean, I know Rivera's not going to say that, but this was his job and he had earned it. In my opinion, he was the big best thing coming out of the preseason. I mean, people can talk about Sam Howell all they want, but Brian Robinson Jr. took that job and made it his. And we were all very excited to see what he was going to do going into week 1. But it's bigger than football now. I mean, this is a young man's life that could still potentially be on the line. I mean, what is stable condition? We don't know anything really yet. We only know what they're telling us. And obviously, there's a familiarity and we're one big wounded fan base. So I've seen some pretty insensitive stuff on the timeline in general in closing that I'm not even going to give airtime to. But at the end of the day, Brian Robinson Jr. Is a person, not a football player. I could give a shit less about, excuse my language, but this backfield in 2022, I care about him coming out on the other side of this. So
first
not football talk to start the show, but man, it's just really, really tough stuff. Curse is the only word I can think of.
I was just going to ask you, Parker, you said in the spaces that you were in prior to coming in here, somebody said that's a bad part of town.
I don't know.
I know that to be a really good part.
Was a little bit confused, but he said he had done some security kind of near that area. He didn't really get into much specifics of it. He didn't really specify what security company he worked for either. But I mean, DC's DC. There's been kind of an uprising in crime in general in certain areas, and people are questioning things. You hate to see that too. But, at the end of the day, man, we're still very early and kind of all the details coming out as well. You did a much better job of describing the area than most people in those spaces were. So bravo to you.
Yeah. Well, we're going to keep tabs on it. If you see anything for those that are watching, make sure you let us know. We'll take a look at it and discuss it as it pops up. For right now, I think everyone's talked about it. We're hit it on the head here. First and foremost, we just hope for him to get back to being healthy. Now, it doesn't even have anything to do with football shape. That's just his health as an individual, as a human. So it's it's a pretty intense thing. Ben, thanks for joining here with us. So B-Rob got shot there around Ben's Chili Bowls, about the area, the 1000 block on H Street. It's going to be something we're going to keep tabs on. We are going to transition to football talk. I know it's a little difficult to do with everything that's going on, but we don't want to speculate any further than what's already being done.
Yeah.
So, Parker, you kind of touched on it. Really, running back one, it seemed like he was, if not a lock for it, at least the odds-on favorite to take that position, and that was kind of apparent when the fact that he was one of the starters who was sitting out in the game yesterday against the Ravens. Instead, you had a couple of other Joe Schmoes that were out there running. What did you think of the running back situation? Because obviously whoever was running yesterday was looking at running back 4.
I don't think who was in our backfield is even going to be in the NFL on Tuesday. For me, the more interesting situation at running back is between Jared Patterson and Jonathan Williams. Jonathan Williams, I don't think dressed for this game, unless I'm wrong. Jared Patterson got a lot of reps. Kind of a storyline with this Jared Patterson situation. I wonder how much of this is the fact that he is a local guy, and there's the familiarity with Chase, there's the familiarity with the area. It's a feel-good story. Obviously, he makes the roster last year. Really good story. I always look out for fellow short kings. I'm a big Jared Patterson guy, right? Long story short, but I thought personally Jonathan Williams had edged him out throughout most of the preseason, and obviously him not traveling makes that a lot more interesting as well. I think it was a pretty ample amount of players as well did not travel for this game. I don't remember the exact number. Do you guys happen to know?
31. 31, exactly 31. It was supposed to be, well, it's not 31 that didn't travel. It's 31 that did not dress for the game. It's supposed to be 32, but Jamin Davis just all of a sudden showed up on the first series. He was on the list.
Like snuck in there. Because he was one of the ones that was not supposed to play.
But it was
I think St. Just as well was one of the ones that was speculated not to play. And he
had some good reps, though, out of Benjamin St. Just. And Damon as well.
Yeah. Both of them got some playing time in there. Williams was an injury scratch, if I recall.
Yes,
correctly.
That's right. That's right.
So that one, as far as looking at that particular battle, like I said, you're looking at best running back 4. I think Parker, you hit it here really, really on the nose. Neither one of them are going to make this team. The team's more than likely going to keep 3 running backs. But now with the Brian Robinson situation, you probably do keep one on there. Trev, you've been pretty adamant that Jarrett freaking Patterson's not going to be on the 53-man roster. And you love yourself some Jonathan Williams. How do you see that playing out, though, as the week goes on?
I've always had a thing for Jonathan Williams on the squad ever since he was number 38 in the practice squad when he first got here. Then he showed some flash and some potential last year into the season when our season was pretty much done. And in the preseason, he showed that he could be that Peyton Barber role that we had for a while when he was here, the short yardage guy. So I'm with you, Parker. I think he edged out JFP. It's a feel-good story, local kid, chase young ties. It's cool and everything, but does that help us win games? No, it does not. So, I mean, it's NFL. It's a business. It's not a popularity contest. So it is what it is. Sorry, EP. I know you're watching. You're a Patterson gal, but maybe you guys can play some catch in the backyard when he's jobless on Tuesday. So
I think it's
practice squad guy. Practice squad.
I think it's interesting though that if Williams wasn't there because of an injury, and the team does a great job of kind of hiding the injuries, how serious is this injury? Is it an injury that's going to keep him out for 3 or 4 weeks? Is it something that was going to elevate Patterson to that number 4 running back position now? You see what I'm saying? So, because we don't know. Maybe it was just a whole precautionary thing. He's not going to be there 2 weeks from now. He'll be
preseason.
fine.
Why does he need to
Who
go?
knows? But like we've talked about in training camp, when John Bates first went out with this calf injury, and they said, it's just a little calf injury, whatever. And then he didn't practice for 3 weeks. So it was obviously more than just a little calf injury. So that could be the same for Jonathan Williams. It could be something a little bit more serious, into where then Jarrett Patterson plays a bigger role in this roster / practice squad, because I don't think if everybody's healthy, let's just say everybody's healthy, including Brian Robinson, because we have no idea. If everybody's healthy, I don't even think Jarrett Patterson is on the practice squad.
No.
I think he's out on the streets looking for a job because he's a dime a dozen guy. You gave all the right accolades to him. It's a great story. He's a shorter guy. He's from the area. He's a hard worker. He was a college star, at a small school, all that stuff. That's all great. But he's just not anybody that's really going to help your team win games. So he's going to be out on the street. But we'll see how all of this now is affecting the current situation going forward. Very fluid over the next few days and few weeks.
EP, I'll bet you 5 he doesn't make the squad. I see your dollar and I raise you 5.
Yeah.
He's not making the
betting with your heart.
One of the things that was interesting, and Gus Bus talked about this in his comment earlier, was Patterson wasn't even the starting running back yesterday.
Reggie Bonifon.
Yeah, which was interesting. And I didn't really see anything from Reggie there yesterday that really kind of put him ahead. I think Patterson had better reps. And I do think that it is going to become between Williams and Patterson. Patterson at least has some reps as a kick returner. Parker, do you think that's going to play a part here as far as that's concerned? Or
it's funny you mentioned that on my podcast, Silence Washington. Make sure you guys check that. I forgot to plug it at the beginning of the show, but I forget exactly what I was talking about. I want to say it was Logan Paulson was on the show, and he mentioned how special teams value is going to be a big reason Patterson does make the 53 eventually. That's where he edges out these other guys at the end of the day. I think Jonathan Williams obviously beats him in size. It doesn't take much to do that. But, I mean, when they brought in Patterson last year, obviously, they lost Peyton Barber. I think the coaching staff realized, and I mentioned I heard JP kind of talk about this a little bit, how, they needed that short yardage guy. Everybody thought that, Patterson was really explosive and, you could potentially get some big plays out of him. We just haven't seen that translate. And in my opinion, I've seen enough out of Jared Patterson. Yes. I think the absolute ceiling for him it is maybe kind of one of those guys you activate on game day or pull from the practice squad if things are really bad. But you think about like the roster impact now that the Brian Robinson Jr. injury does happen, you compound that with the Jonathan Williams potential injury that we have no idea about. I mean, we really have no idea about any of it in general. Now that obviously increases the guy that Trev mentioned. I'll never be able to pronounce his name.
Reggie Bonifon.
Reggie Bonifon. I didn't even know he existed until I turned.
He was Lamar Jackson's running back at Louisville.
Oh, really? I did not know that. Well, you just taught me something. But I mean, I feel like this everything that's going to happen, like you guys said, it's going to be fluid in the next couple of days. There's going to be some potential waiver wire pickups. I mean, guys,
I was going to say, waiver wire.
Barber's a free agent.
Crazy, really?
Deserving stuff.
Peyton Barber, yeah,
deservedly so.
Yes.
I don't think they're going to go back to that well. I think that they'll stick with who they have. It really is going to come down to Williams' injury and how long Brian Robinson's going to come out. There is a story now from Pete Haley out on NBC. We'll check out that later.
What's the headline?
It's just about the headlines. Commander Brian Robinson Jr. shot during attempted robbery.
So nothing.
It goes over the same things that we already know.
Okay.
I've just pulled it up, so I didn't actually look too much.
Oh, here we go.
He had tweeted.
We got something new from Sam Portier from the Post.
All right.
Nikki Javala said as well. Robinson was shot before 6 p.m. on the 1000 block of H Street, NE, near Ben's Chili Bowl and Rita's by two juveniles with shoulder-length dreadlocks. One was wearing, you already mentioned the shirt. So, some of the stuff, familiar details. But
it's right there.
Haley's article says, the suspects tried to take Robinson's Dodge Charger SRT Hellcat, upon which a scuffle ensued and then shots were fired. And then Robinson was taken to an area hospital after the incident. So,
yeah, Pete did tweet that it's not life-threatening. So,
I don't want to say this. Oh, go ahead. You're going to say the same thing.
It could be career-threatening.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I was going to say lower body. We don't know if it's like legs. He could maybe not be able to. Potentially, the worst could be he could not be able to walk.
Yeah.
After this, I mean, you never know. You just never know.
Also, if you remember, when this happened, we didn't really have Twitter back then or whatever. But when Sean Taylor was first shot, it was he's in stable condition.
Yeah.
And then the next day he's gone. Now I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it's so early in the information, getting around. We have no idea what stable condition means, and if that's even a reliable information. It's not like just a hospital spokesperson
default
come
statement
out
to say,
Yeah,
that's just default.
Just kind of back people off, and
yeah.
So we have no idea. There's all kinds of implications for his life, obviously his career, this football team going forward. I mean, we don't want to really talk about it too much, but at some point you have to talk about how it affects this football team. And that's what we talk about here. We talk about the football team and the players and all this, and it obviously does affect the future or this entire season for this team. But we won't get too much into that until we know more.
Right now we don't want to speculate too much on what's going to happen because we're still very much in the dark, and we're getting that information as it comes in.
Rio just said the exact same thing that Stoner said, almost word for word about Sean Taylor in stable condition. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I remember it. I mean, we all kind of remember it. We don't necessarily remember all those little details, but I remember thinking, going to bed that night, he's going to be fine. It's just one of those things. He got shot, he'll be fine. Who knows? And then next thing you know, they're reporting he's gone, and it was just devastating. So we'll see. It's a tough thing, but I guess at some point we get back to football. I mean, we did a good job of talking about football.
Let's go back to it. Let's go.
Yeah, we're gonna get there, and I realize Meta. Yeah, it's kind of hard to talk about football with all this going on.
Yeah,
but like I said, we don't want to speculate. We're not going to sit here and talk for an hour about the B-Rob situation when we're still pulling in information.
Yeah.
So we'll and we don't want to talk about the football aspect, right? Because we have a human being who is in the hospital right now who is shot. So the football stuff's going to wait. For Brian Robinson's purposes, it's going to wait. We're going to focus on the running back talk's over. We talked about the reckoning.
We need to get to Dyami, yo.
And that's what's coming up next. Is Dyami Brown was one of the people who played. We have some clips here.
I love the clip, Stoner. I'm excited for this.
All right. Let's get to these clips, Stoner, because this is the next one. Wide receiver was one of those things that still had to kind of get settled out here. And Dyami Brown did himself no favor last night. I guess he had a couple decent catches, but that's not what people remember from this game here. And so why don't you bring up a clip, describe it for us.
All right, so here's the first clip. And the last thing you said there was that he did have some catches, and not many will remember it. But I remember this particular catch, which was his first catch, and I was super impressed with his catch because he had to kind of go get it a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. And that easily could have been a drop, and it wasn't. And so I'm going to play that one here right now. And so this is a play. Obviously, he creates a little bit of separation, just enough separation. I mean, he caught that ball.
He had the full extend. I like that.
And he basically caught like the second half of the football. You know what I mean? The back half of the football, but he caught it. Right? So let's see when he caught it.
That's nice.
He high pointed that's kind of going through him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he caught the second half, the back half of the football. And I thought that was a great catch. Again, he got the separation that he needed from the DB. And it was a great pass by Howell, by the way. Beautiful pass.
Of course.
We'll get to Howell, right?
What do you expect?
But yeah, so that was a great pass and a great play. And you thought, okay, Dyami, nice play. He made a play, which was
that Tar Heel connection going. You thought this is going to be
love it.
A great night for the two of them.
Yeah,
get to see those. But what more of these clips do you have here? Because that was one of the good catches
for the catches. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got for you.
Yep.
I don't even know if he caught another one. Maybe he did.
He did. He had.
It wasn't for lack of opportunity. Scott Turner was trying to dial this thing up all night,
like it, right? Yeah.
So
this is
Scott Turner haters.
This is his first miss.
Oh no.
I mean, you just can't drop that.
You just can't. Is he afraid to get hit, bro?
It certainly looked like it there.
I don't think he was afraid to get hit because he obviously it's not like he ducked from the guy when he came up and hit him.
But you got to catch the ball first. And
right. He put his shoulder into him. He put his shoulder into
run that back turbo.
So he put his shoulder into him, but he definitely knew he was there.
You got to get him.
He felt him. I don't think it was fear. He just felt him there.
Bro.
He started to prepare for the hit. He was looking for where
Nathan and Gavin run that route in the backyard every Tuesday.
Yeah, but they don't have NFL safeties crashing down on them at full speed either.
No one, Parker. The corner's like 5 steps off.
Trev, listen. Yeah. I don't know about you guys, but if you ran back the clip and let it run like the last clip and let it go like 5 seconds longer, did you see his kind of celebration after he got the catch? He does not exude confidence to me. Something's not clicking. I don't know that he's just not in rhythm. He's overthinking things.
Right, because you saw the confidence at Carolina. I mean, obviously.
You do not see it in this game.
Not now. Okay. You don't. Mm-mm.
I mean, if he catches this ball on this 3rd and 11,
who knows
if he catches this ball, he's probably not getting caught.
Probably not.
He's probably going right in the end zone. If you look at the top of the screen, can you guys see my mouse
No, we cannot.
No,
okay, just check.
But I mean, you're right. 4.2, 4.3 speed. I mean, this guy's a burner. I mean, everybody's like, oh, well, it's just where he was taken, second-year player, wide receiver. At the end of the day, this guy's being kept on the squad because he's an athlete too, and a very good one. And it's very discouraging to not see that stuff translate so early.
And he's got great separation from the corner, obviously. The safety is a good 7, almost 8 yards away by the time the ball gets there. Mm-hmm. He's going to be able to make a move to avoid that safety probably. And then at the top of your screen, you see the 3 DBs are all looking the other direction. That's a walk-in touchdown, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to Anthony Armstrong about it on our last episode too, and I was like, I don't know what about it, but the only word I can think of when I've watched him play this preseason is just uninspired. And honestly, it wouldn't shock me for him to be in some roster bubble talks. Like, I know they're not going to pull the trigger on something like this, and it's kind of asinine for me to even suggest it, but like some of the reps just as a blocker, it just almost looks as if he doesn't even want to be out there. I don't quite understand what's going on between the ears with number 2, but man, I just hope he figures it out soon.
Yeah.
Doug disagrees. It wouldn't have been a touchdown. He said he would have been hit short, but would have been close enough considering it was on the force versus a field goal.
A lot of things are possible.
That field goal, was a difference maker. I'm going to bring back the clip because where I kind of had it stopped here. I'm going to pause it again. Where the safety is, I don't know that he would have been short because yes, he was hit short, but that was after the bobble.
Yeah, that was after the ball's 5 yards past.
Yeah, this is where he already missed the first one. But if he brings this in, he potentially does squeak out from this tackle, and he could potentially he'll pick up the first down. He's
not a small guy either.
No,
so. I do think that he had a good shot there to make it. Gus Bus corrects the speed. He's a 4.46 speed guy, not 4.2, 4.3.
Still fast.
Yeah,
that's still pretty fast. But good point.
I guarantee it's faster than that corner and that safety. I guarantee you.
Faster than the 4 guys here talking about it.
I'm pretty fast, bro. You don't know that. I'm pretty fast.
If that corner or that safety had 4.3 or 4.4 speed, they'd be a wide receiver and not a defensive back. So. He's going right past.
I mean, Trapkey was a speedster.
Hey,
he could run that 4.3.
That's true.
All right, you want the last one?
Fresh one. Let's see the last one.
Please bring that atrocity of a drop.
Yeah. Not that we want to relive this. Tommy T with it. I don't care how fast he is. If he can't catch.
Exactly right, Tommy. That's exactly right. So, all right. So here's the last one, obviously. And we're going to get 3 different angles on this play, too. And this again,
quick decision, great pass.
You just can't drop.
You have to catch that.
There's no effort. There's no effort. Yeah. That's the problem.
What was with him leaving his feet for this?
Yeah,
What's
here's
with
another
him?
angle.
One hand trying to one hand this in.
What? Just
I don't. Yeah, just grab it.
Just exactly like this.
Just grab.
I mean, worry about walking before you try to run.
Yeah, it's just
he literally played himself from wide receiver 4 to wide receiver 6.
And that's honestly impressive.
It's for a span of 2 plays.
Because I don't think he played after that. He was off the field after that. I think his roster. I think Parker said it. His roster position is not necessarily in jeopardy this year.
Yeah.
But he basically went from being a guy who's going to substitute in for a bunch of plays during game day to a guy who's probably not going to dress. He's not going to dress. If everybody's healthy,
he'll dress.
All things being equal.
No, he's going to be inactive. No, Stoner's right. He's inactive on game day.
Wide receiver 6 is inactive.
Yeah, I'm dressing Dax.
You have 5 guys.
For sure.
And you know who the top 3 are, and then you're going to have Cam Sims, and you're going to have Dax Milne. That's going to be your 5 guys. De'Ami Brown basically went from wide – and last year, by the way, wide receiver 2, which is what he was. He went from wide receiver 2 to not dressing in the span of 1 year.
Well, he's dressed so far. We can't say not dressing yet.
Okay, you're right. But that's my prediction.
But you're right. You love yourself some Dax Milne, Trev.
Dax
Milne is more than likely going to be the punt returner. Could see
special teams value.
So that you're going to dress him, And he's had himself a good preseason. Even
the very first play of the game yesterday, that little 9-yard out route. Beautiful. He caught it. He looked the ball in. He caught it. Then he turned upfield and made his move. Like, that's what you have to do as a receiver. And Diami, night and day. You watch Dax catch a ball in a route and watch Diami attempt to catch a ball in a route. It's totally different. And Diami was drafted way higher, and it's just whatever.
One of the things that was good from Diami was getting that separation. Tommy, are we overreacting to preseason week 3 game? Yes, but that's what we do.
But for this case, no, because Diami was here last year, and we drafted him third round last year, second round.
It was third round.
For obviously for a reason. So like for him to get reps and be failing these reps like this, it's not overreacting. He should be making these catches with his eyes closed by now, because he's Diami Brown. Coming out of college, he didn't drop anything.
You drafted him last year in the 3rd round, and then what did you do this year? You said, let's go get a guy in the 1st round because Diami ain't him.
And on top of that, I mean, what were we always hearing about him? He's a home run hitter. He's got a limited route tree. He's a go route kind of guy. Well, now you're messing up the thing that is supposed to be your bread and butter.
Thank you. You're making him run routes. Like, just send him on go routes. That's what he does.
That was basically a go route. And
outside of maybe Antonio Gibson, I don't know many people in this team whose stock has gone down faster than Diami Brown's, really.
Yeah, I would definitely say Diami's went further down than Gibson, because Gibson only fell to running back 2 in this situation. Diami, like we said, is going to go from potentially being that 4th wide receiver to now, does he even dress on game days? It's going to be, he's going to make the team. But where how many opportunities? I think they do want to see more from him, because he does open up the playbook. He does what Dotson does. He does do what Terry McLaurin does, right? He takes the top off of these defenses, but as Tommy mentioned, it doesn't matter if he doesn't catch the ball.
And let's not forget about last week too, in preseason game 2, when he had that almost that same sort of route down the sidelines, and Howell threw it a little bit short. But instead of him attacking the ball and saying, this is my ball, he was just hoping that it would land right into him, rather than going up and snatching it and saying, this is mine. And that's what the great ones do. They go get that ball. They don't give it anybody else a chance to possibly make a play.
Yeah, I think that's probably a learned behavior from his time in North Carolina, right? Where he probably didn't have to.
Never had to fight for it.
Didn't have to fight for it. I kind of liken it to. I'm a taller guy. I never had a jump for rebounds in pickup games until I was an adult, and then actually started playing against guys who were about my size. Yeah, like I just reach up and I'm like 10 feet already, and so then it was all of a sudden people could actually out jump me. So it's a behavior you have to learn, right? You have to attack that ball, or you want that mentality in the first place.
And I mean, there's the familiarity with Sam Howell as well. I mean, going back to 2019, no one connected on more vertical routes outside of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. I mean, this should be easy for these guys.
So
I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Why do we draft these kids and try to make them do something outside of what we're drafting them for?
Well, hey, Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow did struggle in the preseason, but I definitely don't think Diami Brown is a Jamar Chase. So,
but what I'm saying, Diami Brown's a go route receiver, but we're trying to make him run these routes that he's not a good route runner at. So it's run routes, and it's making him, I don't know. And then the Jamin Davis situation with that too. He wasn't. Started. I know, but we draft
expect these players to develop, right?
But their rookie year, you're making them do something completely opposite than what you saw on film to make you draft them. It just doesn't. Why don't you get them comfortable and accustomed?
Last
to the
year they couldn't
NFL,
really use Diami.
You develop.
In his skill position, because they had Taylor Heineke, and the go routes not exactly his.
Fitz targeted him a lot early in the season, even in that Chargers game. I mean, he was bombing at Diami a couple times in that game alone. So I mean, he was a part of the plans, but I feel like at this point, even with bad quarterback play, he's played himself out of it in some capacity. So.
Yeah. What did you say? Who was the T name?
Taylor Heineke will be QB2 to start the season. We'll talk about QB3 in a little bit. Let's talk one more of those wide receivers. A lot of people bringing up Erickson as the as that potential, as that wide receiver 6 or wide receiver 7, maybe over De'Ami Brown. Stoner, where are you sitting at with Erickson and his chances of making the team?
I mean, Erickson is a fine football player. Okay, he can go out there and he's competent in everything that he does. He's a good route runner. He's got good hands if you're back there returning punts or returning kicks. But he's not a difference maker. He doesn't have the upside that, say, a De'Ami Brown does. He's not a draft pick. They don't have anything invested in him other than, I don't know, $800,000, which isn't much. I don't know what his salary is, but he's a bottom of the barrel kind of guy. There's a bunch of Alex Ericksons out there. And if they had drafted Alex Erickson and he had been here for a year or two or whatever, that's a different story. But he's just a guy they picked up off the scrap heap. And if he's fighting for a final position, a draft pick's going to win the job over him. So I'd be very, very surprised if he made this team. Now, I don't even know if he's practice squad eligible. The rules have changed.
Have they changed again?
Years. So
because I'm pretty sure they still have the vets that you're allowed to bring on. I think that's one of the changes. So he could potentially be on the practice squad as a vet who they keep just in case. Gus Bus has taken McLaurin, Dotson, Samuel, Sims, Milne, De'Ami, and Erickson.
I like
that order. In that order. Now, Parker, you're going to be a part of our 53-man roster show tomorrow. You haven't turned in your video just yet, but what do you think about that wide receiver set there?
I don't agree with them making a 7th exception for wide receiver for Alex Erickson. I agree with Stoner. He's a very competent player. Not a lot of weaknesses in his game, but at the same time, there's really nothing explosive or special about it either. I think Dax can do all the same things you really can do that Alex can do as a returner. Obviously, Ron Rivera wanted familiarity there from Carolina, bringing a guy that he knew a little bit about. I don't know about you guys, but I mean, Ron's been very transparent about his displeasure with the special teams unit throughout the majority of the preseason, and a lot of that also stems from Alex Erickson and some of his returns. I saw a couple of really good reps out of him, though, as a receiver, kind of late in a couple of these games. He connected with Sam Howell a few times, but I feel like Dax can give you the same things and probably just give them to you better. So I don't like his odds of making this roster personally.
If they keep 7 receivers, does he make it?
If they keep 7?
If they keep 7, I think Erickson's one of them.
I think he's your 7th guy.
Probably. I think 7's crazy. I don't know about you guys. I think it's always been 6.
Crazy. They did keep 7 last year, I believe, but that was also they had a couple drafted wide receivers and they had some opportunities. But I think they only dressed the 5 on game days, so it will be something interesting. Now, again, we don't want to talk too much about the football side on the Robinson's impact here, but one of those things that is in play is that Gibson was supposed to be returning kicks. Mm-hmm. If he has to move up to that running back 1, do you keep a guy like Erickson because Gibson's you're no longer putting Gibson in that kick returner role?
I mean that's a fair question to have to think about moving forward. Who knows how that's going to work out? You're not putting your starting running back out there returning kicks. You're not
putting Jonathan Williams out there to return kicks if he makes it.
Position flexibility, guys.
Remember. I don't know, man.
We did talk about Jarrett frickin' Patterson returning.
He ain't making a squad return no daggone kick. I'm sorry.
We'll see the top position flex.
This ain't University of Buffalo. It's NFL.
We'll see how it goes. Let's move off of the wide receiver talk right now. We did get a surprise appearance from Jamin Davis. Now, Parker, you're picking a lot of fights on Twitter with like just everybody, but one of those things that you're kind of bringing out for some of this hate was against Davis, and okay, she's showing up against the 2s.
I'm with it.
I think that's something worth praise, but obviously you kind of wanted to talk about it, Parker. So where are you at with Davis and his play against the Ravens specifically? We got a clip here where Davis made a good tackle.
Oh, it's his. Yep. I mean, that was a great play. We heard a lot about that sideline to sideline speed about Jamin coming out of college in Kentucky, and that's my first time seeing it. But overall, I feel like Jamin's doing all the right things on the practice field. I feel like he's retaining a lot more than he was this time last year. Obviously, you have 1 year of collegiate experience at Kentucky at the position. Everybody knows if you move him outside to Will, he's just a lot better of a player in general. Obviously, your brain automatically goes to the Raiders game. But one thing about the last preseason game that really stuck out to me in general with Jamin Davis, he was the only starter to dress for this game.
Mm-hmm.
You're not on that
not
field
necessarily
unless
true.
They have nothing but questions about you.
Yeah,
not necessarily
David
true.
Mayo didn't even dress Nathan. Is it hating or am I just being transparent? Okay,
That's not
I'm
true.
not going to sit here.
What's not? How's it not true?
Benjamin St. Juice played.
He did play.
James Smith-Williams, starter. He played.
Starter because Chase Young's hurt.
Okay, he's still a
starter.
starter. Okay. Like I said, Benjamin St. Juice, starter.
Okay, but here's the thing. Like,
why should I be excited about Jamin Davis is the better question.
I'm not.
I was at camp. I was around media members, and I met multiple media members, and I'm not going to drop names. I'm not that kind of guy. But they were saying, I'm sitting on all this great Jamin Davis, all these quotes and all this information, but I'm just waiting for him to do something, even in camp, to make it a talking point. This is the first time I've seen something like this. I mean, he isn't. I mean, look, at the end of the day, are we going to really sit here and hype up things like him taking blocks? Come on, guys.
Yeah, no. I haven't seen.
he's
not lived up to the 19th overall pick. He does not have lived up to that. I'm sorry.
No, I agree. I agree with the general principle that Trev just said, which is he hasn't lived up to it and all this other things. And I'm not a Jamin Davis guy either. I'm not a true.
I think I'm the only one of the four who thinks that he's still.
However,
still on, good
those same guys that you talked to in camp, they have all talked about the progress that he's made. Is he a world beater at this point? No. Is he worthy of the 19th pick? Is he a difference maker? No. But he's showing progress. And
okay, cool.
At least that's
progress. That's all I want to know.
That's something.
That's all I want to know.
What's that? What was it?
I'm being 100% transparent with you guys. I don't see it. There are media members, like you said, they're there every day. I feel like a lot of this stuff. I mean, it's funny because I think it was Wash Football Talk. They said, I think it was Ethan Cadeau was on the show, and they were like, "Hey, that was a really generous piece you put out about Jamin Davis the other day." Generous was the word that they used.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wish for nothing but his progress and his development because. If he has a great year, this defense has a great year. But he's on the field, which is progress. That's a good point. But at the end of the day, is that really – that's a first-round draft pick we're talking about.
Yeah, number 19 overall.
I think a lot of people wanted Micah Parsons, and
nobody's saying
I don't even want that. I just could have got a completely different player other than like a different position.
All right, but we're past
JOK would have been a better pick.
We're past that.
I know.
We're past that.
We have to live
with him about Jamin Davis. Because David Mayo isn't dressing, Stoner.
Miracle Whip.
But Jamin is playing.
Miracle Whip.
That is.
He did play and he performed well. He's actually had a pretty decent preseason as well. Like I'm not, again, Stoner, like Stoner said, he's not a world beater, right? We're not trying to say that he is. But what we're saying with him is he's already doing things in game action that we were seeing last year.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it's routine stuff, right? Like that tackle was actually somewhat impressive, but him just filling the holes, and I don't know if we have any more
being in the right spot, knowing where to be. Yeah.
And then because we saw some of those flashes of the speed last year. We're seeing it now where he's able to close in and tackle that for a loss, but just being in the right spot is an improvement from what we saw last year. Last year, he looked lost as they try to make him a middle linebacker, which that was too much of a jump. But what we're seeing from him is he's kind of now at the spot, and we talked about this last year, is you just want him as a rookie linebacker to play with his instincts. And they were trying to make him think too much. And I think you're seeing more of those instincts come and learning where to be and fill those holes. So I think I'm not a film nerd, right? But I follow film nerds and I watch what they put out there, and they put out these plays where they diagnose what Jamin Davis is supposed to be doing and then what he's actually doing, and they're showing the improvements. They're showing him
being in the right place. They're showing him making plays. They're showing him filling the holes where last year he wasn't, and then somebody else is making the tackle. Doesn't show up on the stat sheet. Nobody brags about it. Nobody really talks about it, but it's there. And so the guys who really study this stuff are saying that it's improvement. And again, not world beating. He's not worthy of the 19th pick yet or any of that stuff, but he's doing things. He's improving. And that's better than sitting here saying he's still lost. He's still not making plays. And yes, this play was against the twos, right?
Mike Davis, one of the slowest running backs in the National Football
from
League.
the Falcons?
Okay,
Yeah, I remember him.
but more than that, look where he is. You got the 3 linebackers. One's actually, I think, a corner or a safety who's at the top of the 3 guys. So he's the middle guy right there. Okay,
Yeah.
He diagnoses the play. He hits that hole. He pummels the guard, right, who's supposed to be blocking him. He sheds him real quick, and he runs the guy down.
That is a nice play.
Now, this is against probably a backup lineman. This is against a slower running back in Mike Davis. But he's diagnosing, he's shedding blockers, and he's getting to the sidelines to get his guy. Right? So
it's
improvement. That's all.
Yeah, it's a good thing to see, and I know you're not dying on the Jamin Davis was a great pick in the first round. He'll obviously, but
he said definitely not.
Definitely.
But here's my thing: these are plays Chad Muma is already making. These are plays that rookie linebackers around the league are already making, and I feel like the way that they went throughout this draft, you had plenty of chances to actually get a competent starting linebacker. At multiple points and multiple avenues. There's still guys out there on free agency that I feel like are more competent and could come in and help out this room. But they are doubling down on Jamin and Cole and saying, we like who we got. We like who we got.
Yeah.
We're
not seeing that.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that either. I don't buy it. And because of just the lack of depth, I mean, guys, you go past Cole Holcomb and Jamin Davis. We're talking Milo Eifler. We're talking David Mayo. And you want to talk about the roster projection for that? That's horrifying. Let Cole go down. Let Jamin go down. Oh my God! I mean, we're in a horrific situation, and I mean, they're just going to get us death by 1,000 cuts at the second level if these guys don't know what they're doing. See, and Cole and Jamin are on 2 different spectrums, Stoner, in my opinion. Cole, he's got everything between the ears, but no athletic ability. Jamin is on the other side of that. Jamin's 6'4", 234, and can get there in an instant, but he doesn't know where to go half the time. Yeah. So it is definitely rewarding to see him making this progress. But I mean, I've been transparent about how I feel about this pick since day one. I thought the guy was kind of a Boy Scout. I thought that Rivera liked him more as a person than he did as a player. And, you know, I feel like people are leaning on the whole JDR and Ron know their linebackers. But, I mean, I get what they saw on film. But at the end of the day, it was always going to be a project. And, you know, I just hate to see the state of linebacker right now. And I saw a tweet today. It said, you guys are going to be asking for – what does he say? Hamilton, Romeo, Juliet of James. Oh, my God. Whatever. People are always going to say I'm a hater. I mean, I had Logan Campbell literally went up to me right after.
I remember that.
What do you think? I said, I think it's a terrible pick. You guys were comparing this guy to Darius Leonard. Leonard. Bad. Come on, guys. I think we also need to do a better job as a fan base of not accepting a certain level of mediocrity and just taking that in the mouth, airplaning, and be like, oh yeah, this is good. This is progress. It has to translate to the field, or else it was a bad pick. And I don't know about you guys, and I'll leave it at this. Ron's not good at kind of eating his crow when he makes bad decisions either.
Sure.
So
he changes the narrative when that happens. He's very good at that. He's very good.
Something happened recently. Who was it? It was one of his guys that he drafted. I can't quite remember the player, but I feel like he got kind of scapegoated by how things kind of transpired. I can't quite remember the player. And it slipped my mind. But no, I mean, I don't hate Jamin Davis. I want Jamin Davis to succeed just as much as anybody else. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit here and sell a dream because hope is not a tactic, in my opinion. So.
Do you think, and I, of probably the three of us, I'm more guilty of this than anybody, but I'm asking you, do you kind of pull for something like that to happen so that it will prove your argument correct?
See, a lot of people say that whenever you have like an outward take and you really double down on it to the point where people are like talking about your family and your appearance and your significant other, which happened to you with the Jamin Davis pick. I mean, I had people telling me this guy's going to be the Defensive Rookie of the Year. You're just an idiot with a mic and a stupid podcast. And you guys can find the tweets; they're there. But I just quite frankly never saw it. Personally, I would never pull for that. And it also ties into the Carson Wentz thing. All Carson Wentz needs to do is be just like half of what Alex Smith could be, manage this offense.
It'll be fine.
He just like clockwork. Who is the better year, Wentz or Jamin Davis? I would definitely say Carson Wentz. But no, I don't find myself actively rooting. I try, like, unlike a lot of people, to actually double down on my takes and stick to them. I feel like that's something that's kind of a lost art.
Yeah, I think we're all in the end, we're all fans of this team. So I think we want the best case scenario, right? Like even Carson Wentz, Parker, you have some history there with that. You want Carson Wentz to be MVP. You want him to win a Super Bowl here, right? That's the best case scenario. And that's more important than proving like you'll eat that crow.
Absolutely. I'll buy his jersey. I've said it. I'll buy his jersey. I'll put on the clown nose, the makeup. I could care less. I mean, ever since I've been alive, I've never seen a quarterback throw 30 touchdowns for this team.
Yeah, me neither.
If a quarterback throw 27-7 for us, I would absolutely lose my mind. I would lose my mind.
Too. Yeah.
So I mean, no one. And I don't know about you guys. Just think about all the fits Carson gave you as a fan. Just him escaping the pocket like we saw.
Yeah, no joke against us.
Against us. I mean, he always looked great against us. And, I don't know about you guys. Every time he make one of those plays, I'm like, I really want one of those. And the fact that this guy's playing for us now is kind of a whirlwind. So,
yeah, it's kind of it's still really weird, but hey.
It is very weird.
I'm the guy who says I never want to see Sam Howell play a meaningful down for this franchise. That's me. And I'll forever say that until he goes out. And if he starts throwing 38 touchdowns a season and takes us deep into the playoffs, then I'll say I'm a big dummy and I can't believe I said that a few years ago. But the reason is because I don't want I want Carson Wentz to succeed.
Yeah, he's been on the Sam Howell jersey.
I almost wore this today for you, Stoner. I really almost did. I was like, Stoner would appreciate this.
It was a terrible pick. But
it was not a terrible pick. He showed why it was not a terrible pick. This is.
And I have a question for you, Stoner. Why want to dampen the progress or harp the progress of or the development rather of Sam Howell in the preseason? Is it all because of Carson? Because like I've had people tell me, sending stuff to the pod, tell me in spaces, nobody wants to see Sam Howell right now. You got to give Sam Howell less reps. This affects Carson Wentz. This affects Carson Wentz.
It doesn't affect him at all. But
how do you feel about that kind of relationship of Sam Howell kind of making plays in the preseason? Do you actually think that affects your starting quarterback?
No, it doesn't affect your starting quarterback. I don't think it has any effect on Carson Wentz. What it has effect on is the organization as a whole. It has an effect on Ron Rivera and his decision-making. The minute that Carson Wentz starts struggling, and he will, there will be a certain amount of games, whether it's 2 games or 6 games or whatever it is, he's going to struggle at some point. And all we're going to hear from everywhere is Sam Howell, Sam Howell, Sam Howell. Get him in there. Do this and do that. And this organization does not need that. And I think that's the mistake in drafting him. You put everything you can into Carson Wentz, all of it. Draft Jahan Dotson, get Curtis healthy, draft Brian Robinson, all of these things, re-sign J.D. McKissick, all of these things to have Carson Wentz succeed. Don't let any outside influence affect that in any way. And then you draft this guy, and all of a sudden there's going to be these whispers all the time. Sam Howell, get Sam Howell in there. Carson just can't do
whispers. Those howlers are howling.
Yeah, and it's going to affect this franchise as a whole. And you didn't have to do that. You had a choice, but now you're going to hear that at some point during this year. Cart this up. You're going to hear it at some point in this year.
I know you're going to hear it.
This guy
I just wanted to hear. I want to hear the words come out of your mouth.
Yeah.
Look,
but I'm just saying it affects the team, the organization as a whole, not Carson Wentz. It affects the organization negatively. And I just
could see that. And you could make the argument that it was too soon, but can you really name the last time we've had a guy with that kind of skill set in this quarterback room? I mean, maybe
Robert Griffin III.
Well, hang on. Let me look back. Carson Wentz. He's on
Carson Wentz.
Carson Wentz has every skill that Sam Howell does, but better.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've seen it with our own eyes.
Yeah.
You don't think that there's a tax for all the things that Carson's been through? You really think that we're the rehab center for quarterbacks in the league? Because I don't.
Oh, I don't know that for sure. No, but
I don't think we're the get right team, Stoner. To me, Indy was the get right team. And that's the only reason I've been kind of pessimistic on this entire thing from jump, is that we're not the get right team. We're going to have to end up getting lucky, and something's literally going to have to fall into our lap. So what do we got here? So you would rather have Steven Montez. See, that's a good point, too. I don't know if it was as much about quarterback, too, as much as it was about, not wanting to play Garrett Gilbert again in a meaningful football game.
Hey, Double G, that's my dog.
I don't know, but I just don't think – because it's Sam Howell, because it's a guy who was projected to be a first rounder the year before and all of that. It's Sam Howell. It's not necessarily a 5th round quarterback. If they had taken Carson Strong or whatever, some guy like that, we wouldn't be talking about all of this. But everybody's wanting Sam Howell. You're hearing it already that nobody wants Heineke on this team.
I never want Heineke from day one.
I'm saying right now, though, do you want him on the team? They have Sam Howell as number 2. Yeah. That's insane.
They had to jump.
They did the same thing. But when I was watching Sam Howell yesterday, it was like we were watching Taylor when he first did his thing, running around, escaping the pocket, making the good throws. That's what I got everybody on the Taylor Heineke train. Sam's doing the same thing, but he's more accurate, better arm.
Yeah,
way better. I mean, Stoner, in my opinion, this last thing I'll say is that at the end of the day, I don't think it's a testament to like them jumping the gun, which you definitely have an argument for. It's more so the fact that they just like him that much. I mean, I had Kyle on the week of the draft from the Burgundy Zone. We talked about, I said, if Sam's there, they're taking him. He is the guy that they've done the most homework on. And obviously, I'm a fanboy. I mean, God, I have a jersey before he's even played a regular season.
I'm a Tar Heel, so of course.
But with that being said, I mean, they did their homework on this guy, and this is somebody that they're very excited about in the future. And I do agree with you. I think it's more about the fan base than it is about and the rumblings than it would actually be about how it would affect Carson, even despite all the stuff in the past about him kind of being threatened by a quarterback too. So,
but I will say this. In this third preseason game, I thought Sam Howell was fantastic. Sure, he's playing mostly against UPS drivers and DoorDash drivers, all this other stuff, and that's fine. But you're still out there.
If you need a bartender, I'm sure we can send a
bartender.
Nah, I'm good, dog.
But they're still competent football players who are trying to get him, and he's still got to make the right read. And he looked really, really, really good yesterday.
Yeah.
And I think he was 24 of 35, I believe was the numbers. How many drops? Diami had 2 drops. Michelle had that drop in the end zone on that fade pass. Cole had the drop on the 2-point conversion, which was right in his hands. So there's 4 drops at least, and they could have won that game, and everybody would probably be calling for Sam Howell to start over Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
But I thought he looked great, and it's no shot against him, and I think he looks like a competent quarterback, but we have no idea yet. And if we start calling for him after game 6 and this team is 1-4 and all hell's going to break loose, and I'm going to say, well, if Sam Howell wasn't there, we wouldn't have this issue, would we? So
the biggest drop he's going to have is coming on Tuesday. Don't you worry.
Oh my God. Who's that, JFB?
Yeah. So now that we're on the Howell talk, he did have himself a pretty good game. He had himself a really good preseason, the Kansas City game, not his best work, but as far as like his trajectory, it looks like he's at the very minimum QB, solid QB3 this year, potentially QB2 or more next year, depending on how the season plays out. You brought it up, Stoner, that last drive, we had a shot. Parker, what was going on that last play behind the wide receiver? Is that miscommunication? There was a lot of these kind of quick decisions by Howell. Where do you think that play kind of ended up in the grand scheme of things?
Well, Ron had a great nugget where, obviously they didn't dress all the guys after the game like we mentioned earlier. That means Carson Wentz didn't dress out. Taylor Heineke did dress out. Ron kind of mentioned, he looked over at Taylor and said, hey, you might want to warm up, man. Sam's getting killed out here. And I think that's something that was pretty prevalent throughout most of the night. Sam was getting hit very often. And, some moments he knew when to slide. He knew when to make the safe play. And then others, he was just trying to extend the play and just getting, trying to stiff arm guys, getting taken down by 2 or 3 defenders. Obviously, you're targeting Matt Cole, who is more of a returner than he really is a wide receiver, in my opinion. So obviously not exactly a great target. But, I mean, that was just an ugly down and snap overall. I think Sam was just honestly trying to make a play, and there really just was nothing there. And, it's like Stoner said, he's still got a lot to learn. And, as big of a howler as I am, at the end of the day, quarterback 2 is Taylor Heineke's job to lose. If Carson Wentz goes down on the first snap against the Jacksonville Jaguars, week 1, God forbid, Taylor Heineke is expected to go in there and run Scott Turner's offense, just like he was last year. So I think they're very comfortable with their quarterback room. I don't know if it was much of a, I'm not going to overanalyze a play like that at the end of a preseason game. I felt like Sam had felt the pressure most of the night. I felt like at that moment he kind of just let it get to him. I mean, he's got to learn when to let certain plays die. But that seems to be a common trend with all of our quarterbacks.
Yeah, fighting a little too much there, throw away the ball. I definitely felt that was the case when he did a great job breaking out of the first sack attempt. Yeah. But as he drifted to the left there, he should have just tossed it away. Instead, he took another hit here. Now, I do have some thoughts about this one from Meta, who says Howell should have thrown the 2-point in the corner to Erickson, wide open, not to Cole. Trev, did you see that play? I know you're working.
Nah, I was not. Is he right? Should he have thrown it to Erickson and not to Cole?
I happen to disagree. Does anyone agree with metaphor on this one? So
no, I liked where Howell went with the ball as well. I mean, it's easy to sit here and say that now as well. I mean, hindsight is 20/20. Obviously, we get all these like different types of views of the play, but I thought we're saying where the ball was fine, just didn't go his way, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he put it right in his right. I mean,
yeah. I mean, what else could he have done?
Could not have been better on target. It was kind of very similar to the Seattle play to lose the Super Bowl, right?
Oh, okay.
Only Butler didn't, there was no Butler jumping on the pass. The pass went right into Cole's body and bounced out. But I mean, if Cole brings that in, which it was on target, it really should have. That was the 2-point conversion right there. The play happened so quick. Like by the time Erickson's actually leaking out to the back and being open, the ball is already in Cole's chest.
And Sam gets the ball out of his hands quick, man. I mean, I'm kind of glad he wasn't able to go through his progressions enough to see Erickson. He tried to make a sudden and quick decision. It just I thought the Seattle comparison was great too.
Yeah, and sure, Erickson was more open, but Cole was open. And again, he threw it right to him, right in his hands, and he dropped it. Nobody knocked it out of his hands. Nobody crunched him to knock it out or anything like that. He just plain dropped it. So, yes, Erickson was more open, but Cole was open, and the play was there to be made and should have been made. Yep. So, I don't agree that he should have gone to Erickson. What if Erickson dropped it? What if he overthrew him? What if he threw it in the ground? Well, there's a lot of things that coulda, shoulda, woulda happened on that play as well. He made the right play. His receiver didn't help him out.
Yeah, there was definitely, I think there's probably going to be a lot more to go wrong with if he tossed it to Erickson, because again, he made that decision as quick as you wanted it to. If he waits half a second, Cole's no longer blocked. He could potentially overthrow Erickson. Lots of things could go different. I think he hit the right spot. Cole just needs to bring in that ball. Speaking of, those good plays, those bad plays, let's get to our go-goes and no-goes. Let us know in the chat, who did you think was your go-go for this game against the Ravens? We'll start with you, Parker. Go-go is kind of our, studs and duds take on it. Who was your go-go for this game against the Ravens?
My go-go, I mean, we've talked about it already, kind of dived into it. I thought Sam Howell was very impressive through the air and on the ground. I'll tell you another guy I was very impressed by, Chris Paul.
Damn it, I was going to say him.
Chris Paul has had a lot of really impressive reps. His recovery time kind of has been, his running, his pass block, I feel like has been pretty balanced overall. This is a guy who had a really high RAS score. I was very excited about the pick initially. He ended up kind of falling down the board in general. Commanders ended up picking him up, getting that depth at offensive line. They picked up Wes Martin this week as well, familiar face. But I think Chris Paul is going to be a guy that we're going to see very often in the rotation throughout most of this year. I really like what I've seen at Chris Paul, even with this just absolutely mutilated offensive line dating back to Kansas City last week. So I think my go-go is definitely Chris Paul.
All right, Trev. He took your go-go. You want to?
Yeah, I got one
on that earlier. You got another one?
Yeah, it's not probably game related, but it came out after the game. Good news is that John Bates and Cole Turner will return to practice next week, I guess. So that's a go-go for me. They missed all of preseason, which was kind of upsetting. I was looking forward to seeing them in some game action in the preseason, but they turned out to be pretty valuable to this offense and to this team. So hold them out, get them as healthy as we can for week 1 in practice. So that's my go-go, is that they return next week. So
yeah, especially because I would say none of the tight ends really showed out yesterday. So it's kind of disappointing. You kind of, with that opportunity where you're going to have that chance, you'd hope that they would seize it, but didn't really see anything from the tight end group. So hopefully Cole Turner, Logan Thomas come back healthy, Bates as well. So we'll see how it goes. Stoner, who's your go-go for yesterday?
I'm going to go with, Sam Howell. It's an easy choice, but you got to make that choice. 342 total yards when you include his rushing and the touchdown pass, and should have been a 2-point conversion. Should have been other touchdown passes. That one to Michelle should have been caught. The one to Diami should have been caught. He could have had 3 touchdowns yesterday in that game. So I thought Sam Howell played really well. So I'm just going to stick with that and try to not find a hidden go-go.
That's fair. I love the answer so far. Sam Howell, Chris Paul, the tight end group getting healthy, even if it's not directly game related. But I think Jeremy Reeves has played as himself.
Oh, that's a good one.
I think that he's going to be my go-go for this because he really did. And Doug
actually last man standing.
and Ron actually talked about him, not necessarily just football related, but he was asked a question about after recovery, is there from his cancer, is there something he looks at? He named Reeves as a guy who's just always ready to go, and I think that speaks volumes. We know that Ron Rivera loves these character. These good character guys. It's one of the reasons why Davis did get picked ahead of some others and whatnot. But the Reeves, I think, actually has done well enough. And there's some of those safeties, to include a drafted one, who have not played well. So Percy Butler, a lot of hype coming from him for a fourth round rookie. He's very likely.
He's definitely going to make it.
He's got the inside track. But I think that Jeremy Reeves has been playing a lot better than Percy Butler up to this point. So Reeves is my go-go for this. Let's hit these no-goes. Let us know who your no-go is in the chat. EP, of course, took JFP for her go-go.
Oh my gosh,
her no-go is the O-line. Did struggle, but Parker, who you putting on blast here for the no-go yesterday?
Danny Johnson.
Oh, I heard he got burnt really bad on a double move, like really bad.
Demarcus Robinson, who's a fresh signing for the Baltimore Ravens, out there high-stepping like he's in regular season action, just throwing up, just being cute with it over you mentioned Percy Butler. Yeah, just being you can't really blame him because, this is all we've seen out of Danny Johnson. I don't know what they're trying to do with him. Maybe there's
either, bro. He should
we
have
don't
been gone.
Understand here. This staff likes Danny Johnson, but to me, there just been way too many unforgivable reps throughout the duration of this preseason. There just really isn't much I can defend with him. Danny better be glad that cornerback is thin, because it is very thin. We're talking
super
Elder,
thin.
Johnson, Holmes, and I haven't really seen a lot out of Christian Holmes either. But in regards to plays being made on a player, I don't think I've seen anyone get taken advantage of as much as I've seen Danny Johnson get taken advantage of this preseason. That touchdown last night was embarrassing. So
by the way, he's cornerback 3. By the way, if you put St. Juste as your nickel corner and don't necessarily count him, if Jackson or Fuller are not in there, Danny Johnson's the first one off the bench.
Scary thought.
That's scary.
It's just like with linebacker, there's a lack of depth at a very critical position, and it makes you wonder how it's going to affect the roster cuts this week. So it would definitely be interesting. But Danny Johnson's definitely my answer.
How about you, Trev? You got a no-go for the game?
The whole wide receiving core who played yesterday. You got
Max Milne
easy,
played.
Well, minus him. The ones who the drops. Matt Cole heard it was easy drop or easy catch. He dropped it. Michelle had to drop the touchdown. Demi Brown dropped everything that was given to him. So the whole wide receiving core minus Dax Milne, Mr. Steal Your Girl. But yeah, it's just you can't have that. I mean, I know some people are fighting for a spot, but especially Diami, bro. Like we said earlier, you came from a school where you're catching nothing but bombs. You didn't drop anything. You ran a couple routes here, but like you said, you didn't drop anything. We draft you here. You showed glimpses of that last year, but then you got hurt, this and that. And then this year it's supposed to be like, all right.
This game was like scripted for him to go off. Like
and you don't go off against the practice squad of the Ravens, which you essentially went up against. So that's pretty bad. I think the cornerback he was covering might have been Lindell Stevens. He tried out for us, I think, a few years ago too. So if that's the case, then that's trash.
You can't beat out Danny Johnson. You might.
It's
pretty bad start to the day. Stoner, who you got for your no-go?
Man, there's actually a lot of them. 17-15 was the score, but there was a lot of bad play, and we talk about this that you can't necessarily win a starting job, but in the preseason games, but you can lose starting jobs or you can lose roster positions completely in preseason games. Guys like John Toth, he lost himself a job, whether or not he was going to make it or not. If anybody was on the fence, he's not. He was really bad in the center position.
What's that?
Nathan's on the fence.
I'm not on the fence on Toth.
Okay,
no.
all right.
I know I'm the traditional fence guy, but no, John Toth, I'm not on the fence for.
Yeah. John Toth has male modeling to fall back on Stoner. He's fine.
He was a disaster. You're right. There's a lot to choose from. I don't even know the guy's name. 62 was out there as the right tackle, just getting absolutely abused. Crushed. Like you watch the tape for Chris Paul and you're like, yeah, Chris Paul's doing a good. And then you're like, but wait, hold on. Why is there a guy getting back there to Howell? Howell was running for his life, getting tackled left and right.
Alex Akingbulu.
Yeah, not making the team. Not going to happen. Name doesn't matter. That's how bad it is. I would also say Bonifon was another one who I'm going to put as since I didn't know that guy's name. I'll name a guy who I can. I don't think he did anything even though he was picked to start over Jarrett Patterson, he didn't do anything to make me think that was the right choice.
But he makes it over Jarrett Patterson.
I doubt that because one of those things that he did not do well, Trev, was pass block. He did not pass block well. He didn't run the ball well. He didn't there was.
I mean, he played ball at Lamar Jackson. Of course, he didn't block well. I mean, Lamar was running for his life in Louisville. So
there was just nothing good coming from him in the backfield. So I just couldn't wait for him to get out there. And of course, Jazzy was very happy to see Jarrett Patterson.
Oh God, I cannot. Doing well. What is the in fact like? What is it?
You're just gonna have to accept it.
Just gonna have to accept.
So when he's gone, is she still gonna be a fan when he's gone? Like for real? That's how you know if she's a true fan.
He's gonna end up at least on the practice squad.
At least
on the practice squad.
I don't even think he's gonna be.
I don't even think so. Me neither. I'm with you, Thunder.
And by the way, my last one I wanted to get in for who was just not good was that Dwan Neal. Now he's cornerback 8 or whatever on this team, but he got beat by Robinson again on another double move. He was getting beat. He got beat over the top on another. I mean, he got beat a lot. So he was going to be my ultimate
like he stole something.
No-go. He just wasn't that good, Dwan Neal. But, we hadn't even heard of him until training camp started. And we looked.
He was in the USFL for a reason.
Yeah, he was in USFL.
He was just Dwan Neal. We didn't even know how old he was. We couldn't even tell you, how he got on this team because we'd never heard of him. But that's
a long shot to make the roster. Yeah. There are quite a few that maybe not long shots, but they're the diamonds in the rough. We have our district diamond to crown. This is it. all 3 preseason games, all training camp has been played. Yeah. Who is your district diamond? Who's that diamond in the rough that really excelled this year that makes people just go, wow? I think there's the easy choice and probably the only right choice, but we're going to let Parker voice his opinion on the district diamond.
2 hours ago, the district diamond, my choice was running back 1 for this team heading into week 1. And in my opinion, us Commanders fans can be split on Carson Wentz. We can be split on Jamin Davis. But if there's one thing we could all put our heads together on, it was the fact that we finally had a true north-south bulldozer of a running back in Brian Robinson Jr., and everybody was extremely excited about it. Obviously, details aren't final, but in my opinion, he was the biggest story of the preseason. Just pretty much took the starting job from Antonio Gibson. It was literally about to be made official. So I don't feel right about giving district diamond to anybody but Brian Robinson Jr.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Trev, where are you at with the district diamond?
Oh, man. I mean, outside of the obvious of that one and Sam Howell, I'm going to piggyback on the go-go of Chris Paul. A lot of people questioned that pick when he got drafted. They liked him coming out of college, but they thought he'd take a little time to develop and get pro ready. But he's shown that he is kind of pro ready, at least more ready than we thought he was. So didn't hear anything negative about him in camp or out of preseason. I mean, he might have got away with a hold last night, I saw. But other than that, Morgan Moses false started every snap, and he was considered one of the best linemen we ever had. So I'll go with Chris Paul as a district diamond because he wasn't expected to shine as much as he did for us this preseason. So
that's fair. He's definitely on this 53-man roster.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He was what?
I thought he was on the bubble when we drafted him. Honestly, I was like, from Tulsa, cool or whatever. But like,
I mean, look at Christian Holmes. I mean, it could be the other way around. It could be, is this guy even going to make the 53?
Yeah. So.
Stoner, where are you sitting at with the district diamond this year?
I mean, we never got to see him in actual games, but Cole Turner being a 5th-round pick and basically dominating training camp from the tight end position when he had the opportunity to step up because Bates was injured, because Logan Thomas was injured, he did. And the beat reporters just did not stop raving about him in camp. Everything he was doing was right. He's got to work on his blocking, but he's a tight end. I don't care if he ever blocks. I just want a tight end to catch passes.
Yes.
It's 2022, man. We're good.
Yeah, exactly. So I think he's my district diamond for the year, outside of the obvious that you guys have already said, if I'm going to pick somebody different. But Sam Howell is the district diamond. But
Cole Turner is a monster, bro. That dude's a giant.
He is.
Stoner was he had to carry his backpack in front of him at training camp because he got that excited seeing Cole Turner. And
I know he was raving about that.
Yeah, I had movement.
I'm telling you, he was really, really excited to see himself some Cole Turner. Yeah, for me, and I think the obvious, B Rob has actually done well, but as a 3rd-round pick, I think that's still a top 100 pick. You expect those players to do well. John, yes, we did hear about it. We did talk about it in the beginning of the show. I see your comment there. Just wanted to get there. But the district diamond, you got a 5th-round QB who I think everybody is falling in love with. And people, the Howlers, the Hive's still out there. The Heineke Hive's still out there. But a lot of people are kind of shifting their allegiance now to Sam Howell and thinking that there's something special there. Now, again, as fans, we want Carson Wentz to do well. As Stoner put, right, you just don't want to see Howell in the game this year because that means that the season's gone wrong somewhere. You don't put Howell in to replace Carson Wentz if the season's going well. So, but I think a lot of people feel good about the future because if Wentz doesn't work out, then a lot of people feel like Howell might have a shot. It's kind of like Gardner Minshew. We finally have a QB on this roster where I think other fans can actually get excited about, right? How many people were big fans of Baltimore's Tyler Huntley, right? People just absolutely love that. Now we have a QB on this roster that's not a starter who people are just like, I like that guy. I wish that we could take him. So that is my district diamond for this year. We got a lot of questions in the chat here that we'll just try to get to as quick as possible. A lot of these things I think we're going to talk about on Wednesday's show. Leon, how well do you think Gibson will do at kick return or punt returner? We did talk a little bit about this potentially changing with the B-Rob news, but Parker, how do you feel that he's going to do?
Yeah, I mean, it's great to mention that obviously that's going to be a little bit of a paradigm shift there because of the Brian Robinson Jr. news breaking. But I think Antonio Gibson is going to be fine. You think about some of the best plays he's made as a Washington Commander, Washington football team, or whatever have you. The Buffalo game automatically pops up in my head. When you get this guy one-on-one with people in space, that's where he excels. That's where you see that raw athleticism back dating to Memphis. His numbers at Memphis as a kick returner were also fantastic. So overall, I was looking forward to him being able to focus a little bit more on his, refining his craft as a returner. Looks like that's definitely not going to be the case now going into week one. But if this entire thing had not transpired today, I would have felt fine about Antonio Gibson being the returner. I was more so concerned about Scott Turner possibly being able to get him the ball in open field, kind of avoid the crowds, stop putting him down in distances where he's going to have to fight so hard to get contact and just, keep Antonio Gibson clean. But no, I mean, as a punt returner and kick returner, I was very excited to see a more involved role with him with that. But, obviously things change.
Stoner, Trev, do either of you have something quick hit on that one? Nope. Excellent. JB with the next question here. Stoner, I'll ask you this. Do you anticipate the Commanders trying to pick up any players off of waivers?
Yeah, of course. That's always going to happen regardless. The 53 that comes out on Tuesday after they've done all their cuts and everything else is not the 53 you're going to see game one. There's going to be a couple of guys on that back end or practice squad, any of that stuff. So, yeah, they're definitely going to be picking guys up off of waivers. They're not going to be picking up I'm just trying to think of some famous linebacker that everybody wants.
Dante Hightower's another guy's been out there.
Yeah, they're not going to pick up some guy. They're not going to pick up Jimmy Moreland. They're not going to pick up Fabian Moreau just because they played here before, but they're going to definitely pick some guys up.
Yeah, I think that's a very important note there. The 53 we see on Tuesday is not the 53 you're going to see to start week one. It will be very interesting. Of course, we've got the 53-man show coming up tomorrow. You'll actually see Parker back in action for that one. He's going to submit us his video. Parker, what group do you have? Any teasers for this one?
The tight end is what I really wanted to focus on. Obviously, I had some really cool conversations with Doc Walker about how he's worked with some of these guys. I'm a huge Cole Turner fan. Obviously, as somebody they visited throughout the pre-draft process, as well as his quarterback Carson Strong at one point. Honestly, tight end is something I'm very intrigued by. John Bates, they're very high on. Samus Reyes, finally out of the fold. I couldn't be any happier to not be talking about him in the Ashburn Cycling Squad anymore. So tight ends, what I'm
great
really
story
excited.
Though, Parker. It's a great story.
Okay, not a great ending though.
All right, so Parker will let us know which tight ends he has, and he'll be picking those tomorrow. We've got the Burgundy Zone, we've got DMV Sports Zones, we got a whole lot of people coming in to help us out with that one. That's going to be live tomorrow at 7:30. Finally, he gets the hat back on. He's been trying to work that the entire show.
The back part.
Of course, you can check that out tomorrow at 7:30. But Parker, where can our listeners find you?
Obviously, guys, it's been great. It felt like the Collinsworth slide in, Stoner. It just felt like kind of signature right at the end of the show.
Yeah.
But you guys can find my podcast, Silence Washington, on Twitter, Silence_WFT, part of the Silence Sports Network. We got something for every NFL fan. If you find us on Twitter, Silence_WFT, click the link tree right below. You can find us on all social media, even TikTok, guys. We also got some exclusive YouTube content. A lot like here at Ref the District, we come to you guys weekly with a bunch of really cool guests. But it was really awesome to be able to come on the show. Kind of a heavy start, obviously, guys, but can't wait to come back, and this has been a blast.
Excellent. We appreciate it. I have not heard anything more on the Brian Robinson news as far as that's concerned. We'll likely be talking more about that on our Wednesday show. It is our flagship program. You can catch that live at 7:30 on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And until next time,
what?
Be a fan.